it's just moments like that, back to back to back, that it's like confirmation that I'm on the right path. And I feel like when you
never answer my phone, it's a thing. But why was I in the gym this morning and it rang and it was a phone number I didn't know? I just had a hunch to answer it. And, it was my friend Andrew calling me. And I haven't spoken to him.
What do you think is the best way to maintain this culture in Atlanta? Or not even to maintain the culture in Atlanta, but, back to the whole, compassion, kindness, and this way of living and treating other people. What do you think is the best way to spread that?
Wow.
Or even to grow that?
Well, part of the conversation at least. When I met him, he said something that I loved. He said...
Also that it doesn't cost anything to be kind.
I loved that so much. We ended up sitting down and recording this interview.
So you've heard it, so it's just like we're just going to jump right in the deep end and just have a chat.
Awesome.
Andrew, which I love actually.
It's been nearly a year since I recorded this, and I woke up this morning just really feeling like I had to get it done today. And then Andrew called me. Here you go anyway. Welcome to Loving Kindness Every Day, where you will hear everyday language such as 4-letter, 5-letter, or words that your mother might call profanity. Please be advised.
Are you a praying man?
Am I what?
Praying man.
Praying man.
Yes.
I was raised Catholic and then got away from that. So yes and no.
Okay.
I kind of moved toward evangelical faith, non-denominational stuff in my early adulthood. But kind of fell away from it. I had an ex who was an atheist, and I tried to get her to come with me, and then just kind of all fell apart.
Okay.
But I have my faith. I definitely am a believer in God. But I don't really belong to a body.
I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something I've never done before.
Okay.
But it came to me earlier while I was kind of thinking about our conversation.
Okay.
Because I was like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. This is interesting that God just kind of brought me here, whatever. And I felt myself being nervous. And then I was like, felt like you being nervous, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna say a prayer for both of us.
Okay.
And so I saw myself praying for both of us, and I thought maybe I'll start the episode like that. And I never do that because listen to the rest of the meal. Know I'm very much like on the other side of that. But it's I'm like, let's do it. So I want to say, Infinite Spirit of Jesus, I thank you for this opportunity to talk to Andrew and to connect and let your will and the divine purpose come to pass, and not my will, not Andrew's personal will, but the divine, the collective consciousness, what's going to help us all grow and heal, be done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. So I love that your name starts with an A.
Okay.
Because today I was thinking about my next episode. I have been recording a lot, but I haven't released a lot, at all. I've been recording for years, and I haven't released a lot.
Gotcha.
Just because I've been going with how the Spirit wants me to do it. And then this guy named Adam sent me a text message basically telling me that he really related with the last episode. And in the last episode, I talked about a guy named Aaron, who was my handyman. And then your name is Adam. And I had been thinking all day today, excuse me, not Adam. I was thinking about Adam. I was thinking all day. You're
spouting out a lot of A names, I get it.
All the A names, right? And I was literally in the shower where I do my best thinking. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll call the next episode Guys, some guy whose name starts with an A or something like that, That's where I was literally at. So I love that you were like, yeah, I want to talk about whatever you're doing. So I'm going to open it up. I don't know, you said you listened to it. I don't know what you've listened to. I don't know, where you, I'm just going to be like.
So I had sat down with the intent to listen to a lot more than I did. I listened to 30 minutes of your second to last episode. I believe it was titled Vision. Vision or Visions?
Where I talk about where I talk to the astrologer?
Well, I think that was later in the episode. It was 3 hours long. I didn't make it that far into it.
Very long.
No judgments. Just didn't make it there.
We know.
Just to get a feel for you, because we haven't really talked outside of this venue right here. We just briefly when we met.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to get an idea a little bit and see what you're about, see what the podcast is about. Because looking at the episodes, looking at your bio, I could tell that I would like it. I like that we're kind of on the same wavelength as far as how we look at the universe and everything. So. But yeah, I mean, I really, otherwise, other than that little bit I touched, don't know what to expect. And I'm really made comfortable by the fact that we're just going to have a conversation. And that's awesome. I love that.
Yes, and I'm gonna turn my phone off because I started was putting it on do not disturb, and then for some reason like these divine phone calls would happen while I was podcasting, which is a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I'm like, how does this even happen? So now I'm about to turn off the phone. Okay, yeah, I love that. Okay, so it's very open. I love that. All right, so you haven't heard my last episode because you listened to the second to last episode.
Correct.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so what made you think, I want to talk to that person? After you listened to like 30 minutes of the second to the last episode, like what made you think, like, sure, I'll talk to this person. Like,
well, so from the moment we met and like talking about how you feel about kindness and like how this is something that a journey that I've kind of come into. It's always been a part of me, but in the toxic relationship that I was in for 10 years with my ex, it was really I was just clouded. I wasn't able to fully be myself and really fully actualize that. When I was on the streets answering 911 calls, I embodied it. It was how I came to every call. But then it was kind of faced with the counter of going home and dealing with the toxicity there. And so I wasn't able to fully be myself in that way. And so when I separated and kind of got off on my own, that was became like a pillar of my self-identity, of my identity. And it's something I knew I was. And so when I met you and heard you talking about the same stuff, it's like I don't hear people saying this very often. And so I felt like, and then you telling me you had a podcast kind of centered around that, I was really interested in kind of being able to bounce ideas and talk about it. So then when I listened to the 30 minutes of the episode that I did, I heard a lot of vulnerability, I heard a lot of just openness, and that's something that I also really vibe with, that I really get, I understand, and I think it's important as fellow humans that we kind of come together and just, hash this stuff out.
For me, I think what's the point of living otherwise?
Exactly.
That's where I'm at.
Otherwise it's surface level
bullshit.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's where I'm at.
Exactly.
Because that's how it feels. It just feels like trash.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know. I guess I came to this place where I lived. Maybe I like to feel like different lives. Like I've lived lots of different lives and lifestyles and lifelines or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I could say that way. And I've just been like, you know what? At the end of the day, the things that made me feel the most joy and happiness truly were giving to others and being able to be excited about giving back and having conversations. Today, you asked me when we were in the elevator about my day today, and I really kind of instantly I flashed back in my mind just for a second, and I thought about one of the highlights of my day, which was having a conversation with there's a business owner down the street named Sandra Rochelle. She owns Rochelle's Tires, and I met her in this weird sort of happenstance way where I messed up my tire, and we ended up talking. We're
I thank God for Miss Sandra Rochelle. She is a blessing from God. I have no hesitation in telling everybody and anyone, check out Rochelle's Tires, Wheels and Tires. Let them help you out. Check them out. But I did go see her that morning that I recorded this interview with Andrew. The story is too long for me to include in this episode, so I'm just gonna say we're gonna hear about that in the future. But for now, I just want to focus on what
I'll say it this
Andrew
way.
had
I
to
feel
say.
led by the same God that raised Jesus from the dead to understand the power and the validity of things outside of your traditional Christianity.
I love that. Because I'm with you on that. I think religion is a man-made construct, and I think that God has traditions are great and everything, I understand that, but when religion drives people to hurt one another, that I have a hard time with that. And so having faith in that, I just can't really vibe with. I can't understand that. God transcends that.
I feel
not to steer us in a different direction, but
I feel I have to go in that direction because it's how I feel, and it's true, and I think I don't know how you describe it, or I had this conversation. The last conversation I had in this room, I had a conversation with somebody who's a church goer, and I said, "Tell me why you go to church."
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk. We did a lot of talking about God and the Bible, and we did a lot of it.
Okay.
And I suppose if I can ask, Well, let me finish the rest of my story real quick, and then I'm gonna ask you a question, because I have a big question for you.
It's too long of a story to go into it with you guys today, so I'm gonna have to edit this part and just share it with you
Give it to
another
her,
day.
take care of her. And I thought about that. It just all kind of came back to me just in this moment when you asked me in the elevator. That's what it was like. That's how I felt, yeah. And I didn't want to tell you all that. I was like, this is such a long story. You can't but it was like a digital download. Boom. I was like, that was what made my day full of joy.
I love that.
You know, but coming back to my question, if I can ask you. I understand you said it, I don't have a body. That's the way you described it.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand I don't go to church.
Correct. Yeah.
Would you say that like that's a general rule for you, and like you don't have to be like so hard with the word rule, but like in the sense of like your general sentiment is like I know it's at church and I don't want to go.
Effectively, yeah. And there are some churches that I've gone to that I've enjoyed, and I think maybe that was for me at that time in my life. It was good for me then. When I got into Passion City Church, being a part of their conferences when I was college age, and so I really fit in there. Volunteered there, and I felt like it was always a good message. There was always something good being said, and the people were friendly, and I didn't really see any issue with it. But it was also probably one of the most mainstream churches that you could go to, and that was the last church that I really went to that I was a member of. So, what's way more important to me is through the day-to-day. Showing God's love and compassion, and I work in a very public profession. I interact with all kind of people all day long, and so that's my mission. That's my goal, is to spread that same spirit throughout my day, and that fills me up.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. So it's not so much being a part of a group that tithes and that sings songs. It's more a part of actually practically being that in the world that
yeah.
daily.
Yeah, okay, I like that. I like that a lot, Andrew. I don't want to tell you, I have a bunch of reasons why I don't go, but I don't want to tell you my reasons. I kind of want to ask you, like, I kind of want to, like, I don't want to say too much. I want to ask you, like, why don't you go?
Well, and there's also the logistics of it. Even if I wanted to go, I work on Sundays.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's part of the nature also what I do. We all have different off days. But, It's not an important part of my faith. It doesn't make or break me. It doesn't take away from my experience with my faith, not being a part of it. I feel like a lot of churches are really money hungry, and it kind of causes them to lose sight of the whole purpose of what they're doing. I also think some churches do some great things, in their ministries and giving back to communities and going out in those communities and doing good things. Some churches use religion and their spirituality to discriminate against others or to exclude others, and I don't agree with that. So that'd be another reason I wouldn't go to one of those said churches. And there are many churches in the city of Atlanta that are very inclusive, so it's not always the case. I'm just digging, trying to think, is there any other reason I don't go to church? And I'm drawing a blank at this point. I think that's...
It just doesn't do anything for you.
Mm-mm.
It's just not doing it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like anything's missing in your life? Spiritually, in that way? For example, community.
On some level, yeah. Because for someone who's a churchgoer who goes to, say, Methodist church, they're going to be in pews with like-minded people in theory, and they're going to have that sense of community. And for someone like such as myself, like that, I guess what I believe isn't really mainstream, in that God's more important than the tradition, and carrying out of loving and kindness and compassion. I just don't see a lot of people really relating with that by itself. I mean, I even believe that, like, all religion is just the explanation of the same God. Like, we're sitting here having wars over there's one God up here, like, looking down, like, really, y'all?
Yeah.
And I also think that's kind of I don't want to say radical, but or fringe, but just like it's not. I don't think it's a common belief.
I have this thing I decided I call it. It's the same idea that you're describing, and I feel like. Okay, well, actually, I should ask you this question first.
Okay.
How do you feel about Jesus?
It's a good question.
Just ask that for it. I don't want to tell you how I feel. It could come too hard on me about my feelings.
Yeah, I get that.
Tell me how you feel.
I
don't want to be like
dilute the waters.
Yeah. You know, put something in your mouth or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I get that. So having been raised Catholic and then moving to the evangelical side of things, of course, I've had a history with Jesus, and I do have a hard time reconciling that he was born through the Immaculate Conception. I believe that he was maybe a prophet. I just have a hard time with the Son of God thing, but that he definitely was walking in the way of God, and that he was trying to teach and bring about a change on this earth. That I mean, of course, I do believe he existed as a human being on this planet. I have no doubt that he was crucified and all that. You know, from what I've learned about Jesus through the Bible and just, you know, my own experience. I say experience, I mean, I haven't met the guy. I haven't been on earth with him, but it seems like he was a good dude doing the right thing and trying to spread love and peace.
Interesting. Okay. So you definitely wouldn't call yourself a Christian from what you're describing?
Not a typical Christian, not like I'm going to say I believe in Jesus and I'm going to get to go to heaven kind of type thing, like repent and be saved, you know?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't really relate to that.
What do you think about the, like the resurrection? How do you feel about that?
Okay, so there was a time in my life that I believed all that. And I don't want to say that I don't believe that it happened. I really don't. I feel like maybe there's an explanation for it, you know?
Ooh, interesting. All right, so you're kind of more moved into like the science space to like, I'm sure that there's a reason, there's some sort of logical reason why people thought that at the time. Fair enough, okay, I hear that, that's fair enough, I hear that, okay.
Not to say that it couldn't have happened, you know, but I always felt like religion was early science. It was a way to explain the way the world worked before science existed, and science is just a way of explaining how God does what he does.
I like that. I mean, I feel like that one works for me. Some of the things that I feel personally differ when it comes to the Jesus thing.
I get you.
I like what you have to say, and I also feel like it goes back to my point where I said I wanted to ask you a question first, which was that I do believe in like this universal, radical, sort of loop that you did with your hands. You did this thing where you was like, all gods are like one. You did like that. I usually do like this, where it's like this figure eight, this figure eight thing, you know. But it's like I feel that we all come to this divine understanding, and I guess like my issue, if I can call it that, with Christianity has to do with this idea of like God outside of you, and like this God, like in the sky that like you need to please or like. Like kneel down in front of and like, oh God, forgive me because I just like didn't do what the pastor said or whatever, like this sort of a thing. And I just don't think that that's correct or helpful.
Absolutely.
But I guess it's interesting the way that people feel, and I noticed that you have this kind of you mentioned this thing multiple times where you say like people aren't like that. You say you have this idea of people.
So I do realize that based upon my exposure to society, the way that I go through life and this is what I do for a living, puts me in contact with people at their lowest moments a lot of times. I don't see them at their best a lot of times. And so I try to stay cognizant of that. And I do know the vast majority of people on this planet are good people. Let me stop myself there. There's no such thing as a good or bad person. There's people that make good and bad choices. That's what I believe. But like there are ample people that make good choices the vast majority of the time. Ones that are considerate of others, ones that generally are beneficial to society, versus those that are taking freedoms away from people or that thing, that, and the other. that being said, in my experience, I don't meet those people very much. Not very often do I meet people who are on the same wavelength. A lot of times, the people that I interact with on the streets are people who aren't really taking responsibility for themselves, and I do my best to connect with them and try and help them see to move forward when I do interact with them. But unfortunately, I don't have that experience very often.
This must be very draining.
Hmm?
That must be very draining. This must be very draining. It must be very hard to have that. Gosh.
What would be draining is if I entered those situations and I'm interacting with this person and connecting with them on a human level, but then not helping them, not trying to sit with them and empathize and then help show them the way forward. In that, look, this may not have been your fault, right? I may be talking to a victim of a crime. This is by no means your fault. But if we sit back and we look and think, well, what could I do differently? Or, taking responsibility on that front, that kind of fills me up. It kind of negates the draining because I'm actually giving. I'm providing.
Yeah, I get it. You're going back to how I said to you when you asked me about my day, and I thought of I did a lot of things today that were for me or whatever, or business or whatever, but the thing that I kind of smiled back on was filling up somebody else, and it gave me that joy.
Yeah.
I understand that. I can understand that now. And I appreciate y'all more now.
Thank you.
That was hard for me to say.
I understand that. I completely understand that, and it's not taken lightly.
I said it. But for real, I see it, honestly, it's all right, and it's one of the reasons why I changed my name, and I think I kind of shared with you really quickly when I first met you. It was but honestly, what happened, Andrew, was I don't usually go to McDonald's, and I just felt this divine sort of go to McDonald's. I had to go. So I went to this McDonald's, and I walk in, and there's a bunch of people arguing, but they're the McDonald's workers, the staff.
Did you go to the one on Constantly On?
No, where was
Okay.
I? No, I was on what is it? Bad things happening.
That one's, for some reason, just always something going on. But
don't go over there. No, where was I? I was on over by where they have a bunch of them all all the stuff together. And so there I am. I walk in, and there's a brawl. They were about to start fighting. And I kind of share with you a little bit military, whatever. And so when I see situations, I'm address, I just kind of looked at it, and I saw that one of the people was a younger girl. Later on, she's found out she's 19. But when I saw her, I just felt no, I need to separate the two of them, and you come outside. Let's go. Let's just go. So I said to her, I looked at her, and I was hey, will you come outside with me? And she looked at me kind of she didn't know me from Adam, whatever. She looked at me, but she was yeah. And I was come on. And then her manager stopped me. I could tell it was a manager who was wearing something different, and he was do you know her? And I was no. Do you mind if we go outside? I'm it's not working. What you guys got going on? It's not working. Whatever you're doing in here, it's about to be really bad in here very soon. So I'm we gotta separate. Let's go. And so she comes outside with me, and we sit down. And at the moment, I was having a really hard time in my life, Andrew. It was a lot of things were going on with my relationship. It was at the brink of a divorce, and just I had I was kind of, I can't remember at that time if I had already started the case with my brother or not, but it was I was having a lot of things going on. Okay. And I sat down, I literally had went out to McDonald's, I went out for a drive to clear my head. It was one of those things, and I ended up in this situation. And so I sit down with her, And I'm like, what happened? Because I'm at the point in my life, I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, everybody's going to shit. What's going on with you? Let's fix something today.
Yeah, let's get a win.
Let's do, yeah, exactly. So I'm like, what's going on? And then she starts telling me, and she's basically like starts sharing her heart with me, and she's like, like this lady, she's giving out to me, she's coming down hard on me, I can't do anything right, blah 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 blah. And I kind of just started talking to her, and she starts to calm down, and she was just like basically explaining to me like my grandma just died, her mom just died, she's like out here on her own, she's 19, she's just out here raw, just living, and this lady is just like whipping her, and everything she does is wrong. And I was just like, okay, I get it. And also at the same time, like she probably is going through a lot, and you don't know what she's going through. And I started to share with her what I was going through. I said, I'm going through a lot too. I was like, we're all out here just like literally trying to make it. Can we just start again? I said, can we just start this day again? We got to do something to like make everything better. Like we could just start again. And I said to her, I used to work in the food industry, and the last thing I wanted to do was eat food at the place I worked. Can I maybe bring you some food from somewhere else? Can you let me like just do you a solid for that? Just start again. And so, she was all like, oh, like sure, whatever. I'll, you go to like, I don't really want anything, but maybe ask her, does she want something? Because I said I'm gonna go talk to her too. Like we gotta just, I'm gonna get stuff for both of y'all. So I went to the other lady, kind of had a little chat with her, and she was basically like, sure, you can go get me a shake from Cookout. And so, all right, sure. What flavor do you want? I want vanilla. I want peach. No problem. I go to Cookout. This is my first time ever going to Cookout. So I said to the person, hey, this is what they want. Can you give it to me? And I'm thinking peach is going to be like pink or something, and the vanilla will be white. He gives them both to me, and they're both white.
Oh no.
That's what I said. I said, oh no. I said, we can't start another fight. I said, I need you to give us. I said, I need you to write something on one of these, please. And he's like, which one? I was like, just write something on the peach one. And he's like, what do you want to say? I was like, I don't know, just write kindness. I was like, that's what we need today. I was like, we just need kindness. And the way you wrote it on there, Andrew, I don't know why for me, like for a long time I felt like spiritually, like I had known that the spirit was going to change my name. And I kind of taken that on as my own thing in the past, just like doing this whole thing with it. But at the time when I saw it, it looked like a name. And then it became kind of like a joke where like around town, because I was going through such a hard time, and in the past, without telling you a long history of my life, I had been through like a house fire and a bunch of things where I had kind of hit like rock bottom, and I learned from that point that like giving helped me a lot. Yeah. I just learned from being at rock bottom that like, okay, when I'm at rock bottom, in order to get out from rock bottom, I have to go out and start volunteering and giving, being around homeless people and start helping them. And this is how I help myself. This is what I do for self-help. Gotcha. And so I started doing that a lot during that time because I was going through so much. And so I would be out on the streets and I'd be like, hey, let me help you. What do you need? Da da da. And so like a lot of times I'd be picking up meals and I would end up back at Cookout. And so as a joke, I would always be like, they'd be like, what's your name? And I would always say, kindness. And then one day I was just like, they would, and then it became such a thing that I was there so much that they would see me and they'd be like, oh yeah, that's kindness. And they would like call me that. And then I would be like, oh yeah, that is my name. And then I kind of felt like I talked to this guy who was like a spiritual mentor, and I hadn't spoken to him in years and years. I told him what I was going through, and he's like, oh, it's funny, I'm not surprised. And honestly, like, I really feel strongly like you need to go like with that name change. Like you need to like make it official, like do it, like change your name, change your hair, change whatever, like, change everything, whatever about yourself, like totally become like your authentic self and be like, that person.
Commit to that. Yeah, I get that.
And it came from an argument, and from that thing, I guess, again, like it just goes back to what you said about like giving back and like filling the void inside myself by helping others.
Yeah. I stumbled into it too. I had no idea that it was my purpose or that it was going to be so good for me.
Would you mind if I ask you how about that? Like how you stumbled into it, for example?
Well, I used to work in logistics, and they kind of treated me horribly, paid me $13 an hour to do everything, and I needed to make more money because I just had my first child, and my wife at the time was needing to take care of the child and could only work on weekends when I was home. When I was home, so we were struggling, and so I was struggling to find a new career field. I didn't know what to do. I was in school for IT, but I didn't want to do that for anybody. I love computers, but I just didn't want to be told how to do computers. So I was looking for a new career field, and someone cut me off in traffic, And I got upset, and I was like, wait a minute, why am I getting upset? There's nothing I can do to change this. Like, it happened. And like, wait a minute, there is something I could do. I could become a police officer. And that is it's just, I am not a traffic cop. I do not care to pull people over. I really don't, which is kind of funny. But as I go through the training and I start, doing this work on the streets, I find that, like, coming out to someone's request for services, being able to help them with whatever they were victimized or whatever problem they're having, crisis between two individuals, de-escalating, and basically being a therapist or being a counselor, whatever the situation is, I'm filled up by it, and I just love it. I love it. There's not a day that I dread coming to work.
Whoa, that's wild. That's
amazing
that you said that. Let me ask you, like, do you ever feel scared? If I can ask you that, like,
sure.
Like, in the sense of, like, going into, because, like, it's like just being, like, you by yourself. Like, it's like
we ride in cars by ourselves. Yeah, if there's a call that is significantly dangerous, let's say a shooting or a robbery or something even actively in progress, like a burglary, that someone actively burglarizing somewhere, we'll go multiple cars. Like, multiple cars will go to that call, or multiple officers, as it were. But as it is on the day-to-day, I ride alone in my car, and I handle the vast majority of my calls on my own. And yeah, sometimes I do. I don't want to say scared,
concerned,
fearful.
For safety.
I mean, yeah, there's a healthy fear that comes with answering certain calls, and it's one that kind of recalls training. One that, this is a fear that, okay, I acknowledge that I've answered this call, my heart rate is rising, I'm needing to drive quickly to this location, say lights and sirens, so now I'm navigating through traffic and people don't know what to do when lights and sirens are on, so you have to really be careful not to hit anybody. So it's already high stress from the second you answer that call. So yeah, there's definitely some fear in there.
I guess I remember being, like, a kid in the 90s watching the TV, and they were always, like, the two of them together.
Yeah, and cops episodes and stuff. Yeah.
And I guess I wonder, like, I don't know, I'm allowed to ask, like, why they don't do that.
Probably the staffing levels.
Oh, it's just because there's not enough people?
There's not enough people. I mean, any given day we're supposed to have 14 people on the streets in our zone. And, it's pretty common to only have 10.
Oh.
Or even less, sometimes less.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
people don't really want to do it anymore, and I don't blame people for not wanting to sign on for the liability, the pay. I mean, you can't pay someone enough to put a bulletproof vest on and come to work every day. There's not an amount of money that would justify it. So there has to be some intrinsic benefit, whether it be for some people, the authority, and for others, the giving back or, like, making a difference. And I just don't think there's that many people interested in doing it because there's nobody's applying. Like, there's very few. Those classes are small. Many people quit, so that's what we struggle with. But I'm optimistic that it'll change, and maybe we'll get more people like you and I put on a uniform. Listen, I say that because the way that you went into that McDonald's and handled that situation is no different than I would have. You have compassion.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
You have empathy.
Sweet Jesus, you're hilarious.
There are officers that don't have that.
Funny, that's hilarious.
We need more empathic officers that know how to deal with a situation without immediately coming in straight with authority or aggression to try and handle the situation.
Do you know how much Jesus is in me to bring y'all bread?
I can only imagine.
Did you read what I put on the internet about that?
I haven't seen it, no.
Sweet Jesus.
I look forward to it.
Because I called y'all for help and you arrested me.
Really?
You talk about being in uniform. Yes.
Are we about to hash that whole thing out? Because I'm curious. No.
Oh, we can hash it out. I mean, listen, it's all right. I believe, even I told
You're talking about Zone 6.
I told the female officer as I was in the back of the thing, as she got out at Zone 6 after I had just delivered y'all bread, and I was like, yeah, I just believe everything works out for a reason, and I just know that this is good. Like, I just know something good's gonna come from it, and it did. I'll be honest with you. I feel I got to see. I got to change my opinion.
Okay.
I like changing my opinion. I like confronting truth.
Yeah, I get
And what I saw was humans and y'all really trying to help people. I've seen this guy that I think he got arrested, pulled over for maybe, I don't know, maybe he was doing something, but apparently had drugs there, and the officer seen it and was like, I can't unsee this, so I'm sorry, I gotta take you, this being wild or whatever. So his mom calls his phone, and the officer, he's like, hey, that's my mom, can you answer? And the officer's like, hello ma'am, yeah, like, unfortunately, like, this is what happened, but like, this is how you can find him, this is what you can do, blah, blah, blah. And it was like really lovely, honestly.
Okay.
And patient. And I knew he had other things to do. Like, he took a good 60 to 90 seconds to talk to this woman and help her when, he could have just been like, screw you. Yeah, he could have just, screw your phone, you're going to jail, And I saw that. And I saw, like, it reminded me of being in the military, but, like, in, like, a station that wasn't so nice.
Yeah.
Underfunded.
Yeah.
And, like, y'all needed more. And so, like, and then also so y'all being, like, nice. Like, not, like, nice, but, like friendly, actually kind. Like, some of y'all were, like, really lovely, and I told him, I was like...
That was good precinct.
Yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah. Yeah. And people took me downtown to Rice Street, and they were like, I hope you still bring us bread. And I was like, I will.
Begrudgingly. I can only imagine.
It took me about 7 times to heal my heart before I could start saying hello again, but it's all right. But I did feel like, honestly, it did happen for a reason, and it did make me see, I think that had I not had that experience that night, I would have still come there, but I wouldn't have felt as strongly as I do now about maybe bringing empathy and understanding. Yeah. Because, like, even when I talk about it, like, I don't tell people that I bring y'all bread, because if I told everybody, I don't think that they would have positive things to say about it. Yeah. And so I usually am very, like, I bring other people bread, but, like, usually I don't talk about bringing y'all bread.
I understand that. Yeah. And a lot of people, it's a sensitive topic. A lot of people feel very strongly about it too, and that's understandable. So I get that. And
it's just like, for me, I'm never gonna be one of those thin blue line people, but I feel like this experience has made me really. I guess it started with, like, I don't care about it if it's not the humanity. And so, like, what's the point if we're just talking about bullshit? So if you want to just sit here and talk politics and talk bullshit and talk all that, then, like, what's the point? I just think, like, what I saw was, at least here in Atlanta, what I've been advocating for, what has been inside of me this whole time, which is, like, kindness. And it was, like, seeing situations where, like, just strangers on the street being lovely to each other. Like, I grew up in Miami. In Miami in the 90s, people weren't as nice as they are here in 2024.
Oh, wow.
Those are facts.
Okay.
These are just facts.
I believe you.
Like, I've seen things, I've witnessed things where, like, I'm like, wow, this is like a big city and people are still nice here. Like, you still get a little bit of southern, like, loveliness is still here. Like, I've been at, what's that place? There's not the Belvedere. There's this place near Target, and there's like a Target and a Kroger's and a bunch of stuff over there, and like
I'm familiar with the plaza.
The
Caroline Street.
That's the one. That's the one. Okay. And so sometimes you see, like, houseless people hang around there, and they start talking to people and stuff like that. Yeah. One day I'm there, and this lady calls out to me. She's like, hey sir, can you help me with my bags? Get them into this car. And then I walked up and she was like, oh, excuse me, sorry. And I was just like, no, it's okay. I'm gonna help you with your bags. What do you need? I was like, come on. Like, let's get your bags. And so I help her get these bags in the car. But then I realized, through the process of doing it, that it's not her car. The person whose car it is doesn't know her. And they're taking her to a location that they're gonna figure out once they get the stuff in there, because she's homeless and she's like, how far will you take me? And she's like, well, I guess I'll take you this far. And then, they were, like, going to figure it out. And I was just like, wow, that's beautiful and wild. and like not that she wasn't gonna do it. She was like an old lady. She wasn't like she was just trying to get closer to downtown to like where they give out the food and stuff like that. But like I mean, for me in my experience coming up, like you just wouldn't see that in Miami. Like what? No. What? In my actual car? What? That's wild. No. And I guess I just see that. I see that here, and that's why I started the little like Keep Atlanta Kind thing. So I'm like, more people are coming here. Let's just keep it still good.
Yeah, let's keep that up. Let's keep that culture.
Let that be part of the culture. Because like I've talked to people from Atlanta, and they've been like, yeah, like that's Atlanta. Atlanta's just like that's what you're gonna get, And it's like sometimes I talk to people who are new here, and they're like, well, I haven't experienced that yet, but hopefully. And then I hear you say things, and I kind of knew like your job was very forward facing, as you say, and it's like I think to myself, well, I wonder your experience. I wonder how you feel about that. I wonder when I say it, what.
Talking about the general culture being kind here in Atlanta. I get that a lot. I see that a lot. When you talk about people just not even being asked by a homeless person who's hanging outside the store and coming out of the store with groceries or coming out of the store with something for them to eat, whether it be the gas station, the grocery store, whatever. Like I see that on a consistent basis, and I can speak from my personal experience. It's kind of funny you mentioned the ride. I work 3 days a week at the city-run temporary shelter. They have a program there where they're basically getting these people from Gateway and through Mercy Care, and they vet them and they bring them into the shelter, houseless people, and they basically are setting them up with an apartment for a year, no cost. So I'm one of the officers that works there to maintain peace, which I mostly just sit there for 8 hours. It's mostly peaceful, but sometimes they, have conflict, and I help de-escalate, try and keep them in the program, keep things from escalating and them getting kicked out. But yeah, it was like the end of my shift. It was like almost 11 o'clock at night, and this man, he must have been, I didn't ask him how old he was, but he must have been close to 90. His name was Calvin, and he came in with this little broken stick and a little blue bag, and I couldn't tell if he was homeless or not, but he was definitely having a hard time. He was saying people were following him, and if I could just come outside with him and talk to him, and so that they would see me, because I'm in full uniform, and that they would be scared off. But he was just pointing out every person, walking down the street. That's them, that car over there, that's them. So I knew like he was dealing with some paranoia issues and everything. And so I just was like, Calvin, what is it that I can do for you? And he didn't seem to think that talking to me was helping. So he said, well, would you mind giving me a ride? In my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, I gotta get up for work. I gotta be at work at 6 a.m. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm a little worried that he's going to have me driving around the city because he's given me a street name. He's given me Harris and Butler. And I know that there used to be Harris, which is John Portman now. And Butler Street, I know, has some connections to the North or the Old Fourth Ward area. Like there's Butler Street Baptist Church, there's the Butler Street YMCA, but I don't know a Butler Street. So I'm not finding it on Google Maps. And so he tells me to take him to the Butler Street YMCA. So I clock out, I get him in the car, we go over there, and he's like, really, I can get in your car? He tries to drop his stick on the ground, and I was like, no, here, take your stick. Like, you need that. But anyway, so I go to the Butler Street YMCA, he's like, no, this isn't it, and like starting to get nervous. But anyways, I ended up getting him home and getting myself home maybe 15 minutes later than I would have. But yeah, that was something that he wasn't afraid to ask me. I mean, I'm a cop at the end of the day, so I'm a public servant. Maybe he expected me to say yes, but many wouldn't. And he didn't smell the greatest, but it is what it is. A little bit of Febreze, fix it up.
Wow. And you helped him
out, and he felt a lot safer.
Feel good.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was telling me stories about his son who was a crook, and he was a really pleasant guy. I was really grateful. And in that moment, it's not just the actual act of getting him somewhere. It was the interaction of talking to him and hearing his experience, and just I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not given him a ride.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Wow. In my brain, I'm like, just how I feel right now.
But yeah, I also see that outside of myself too. That was a very similar example. All the time, I definitely see kindness on calls. Just interacting with the public. I'd spent 2 years as a bike cop.
Ooh.
that was the highlight of my career, because that was all community policing. That was all interacting with people on a positive level. You know, people were really disarmed by the fact that when I'm pulling up on a bicycle, like I don't have metal and glass, I don't have a cage. It's just me and a bike. I'd go out to the skate park and I'd make connections with the skate park kids, because I would take my bike and I would be on the ramps. I'd be catching air, you know, and they would love that.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Listen to you, Andrew.
That was fun.
Wow. Okay, I have to go really off topic and ask you a question.
I'm with it.
So I've been talking about early childhood sexual abuse.
Okay.
And specifically in the context of like my own history I've been kind of sharing, but I've been noticing a lot of people are coming to me and in response telling me stories and sharing things. And then I think about the statistics, and I think about the statistics show 1 in 6 men, 1 in 4 women are like victims or whatever. And I suppose my question to you, because it's such a, you know, so you're involved in such a big pot and a pie, like, is it something that you see often? Is it something that you see reported often, or is it something that you're like, oh wow, this is this type of a case? I don't usually, like, do you come across it often?
No.
Yeah.
I have come across it in my 7 years on the streets, and I've made arrests for offenders. But it is not commonly, I don't want to say that it's not commonly reported, which is what I'm understanding is the case, but like from my anecdotal experience on the streets,
yes.
You know, I see it just ever so often.
Interesting.
That it even get calls related to it.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I just wanted to kind of like, my personal theory is that it's severely underreported and that people just don't even feel comfortable talking about it, so therefore they're definitely not going to feel comfortable calling me all about it.
Yeah. It comes with a great deal of shame. And, you know, and inherently, just in the fact that it happened, especially at a young age, you have no way to process that. You don't know exactly. I mean, like, I don't know, maybe more education might help, but like, I imagine a child in there, you know, given whatever their experience was up until that point, they don't have the tools that they need to really. I don't know. That's my perspective. I just feel like they're extremely vulnerable, and to say something would. Like, they're scared to say anything about it.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, that's.
But I'm speaking from someone who hasn't had that experience, and so I don't want to take away from, or if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, I wouldn't say you're wrong at all. I mean, that's something for me. I definitely experienced that. I mean, I've shared that. Like, I did a whole podcast about how it took me forever to talk about it. Just to say it was a big deal. So, I suppose. In my journey of saying it and talking about it and hearing other people's responses to it, I hear so many adults talk about how it happened to them, and then I also understand that those same adults haven't reported, and then I understand the numbers, which still seem kind of high when you say 1 in 4 and 1 in 6, but yet...
For them not to be reported.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, for it not to be something that you see regularly. You know what I mean? So I'm just more curious as to, like, how many, you know, like, where we're at, like, as humans, because, again, I go back to, like, why does this all matter for me each time? I've been very vocal about my feelings on suicide. Personally, I just don't believe in it. I don't believe it's a actual out. I think it's a joke, like a trick from the universe. Like, haha, lost all your coins, try again. Like, serious. Like, our universe is like too organized. Like, everything just makes too much sense. Like, all the things are just like, and then you're just gonna kill yourself and be like at peace forever. Like, no, I'm sorry, I don't think so.
It doesn't come that easy. I don't think.
No, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I just know it's not gonna be so simple like you think. So I've been just kind of like thinking about that, and also like vocal and talking about that, in the sense of like, all right. Sort of like we started our conversation, you know, Andrew was like, you can have like religion and spirituality and like the whole kind of whatever, but like taking religion aside, where it's like God put you in, you know, like when I ask Christians, or I ask like a Christian and I'll say, oh, like, what do you think about like, you know, suicide? And it's like, oh, well, like, you're gonna go to hell. And I'm like, do you think that going to hell is gonna like save somebody who already feels like they're living in hell? Like your fake hell in their brain like is supposed to like, okay, that's why I'm not gonna shoot myself, is because of your idea of hell or whatever. You know, like, I'm like, that's not a solution. Like, you know, but I think if you were to think about it logically, and you have to tell me how you feel about this, and maybe have you, and I don't mean to trigger you, but have you experienced, out on the street seeing, like seeing suicide and things like that? Is it a big thing, or is it not, or whatever? But I just think that, like, the idea of this is going to be relief is a common misconception.
I believe you're right. Yeah. I see it on the streets far more than I see reports of child abuse.
Wow. Yeah.
Far more, and those images will never leave my head, of those scenes, and the amount of, oh my gosh, the amount of pain it causes the people who are, their loved ones, and it's a lot. But yeah.
I mean, do you mind if we talk about it?
I don't mind at all.
I mean, for me, I just have this idea, this feeling, I can't prove it or whatever, but I just have this feeling that, like, because of the fact that people have been so traumatized in ways that they don't feel comfortable expressing, they then go into these really dark holes, and they haven't talked about it to anybody, so therefore they do these things that are seemingly, oh, well, they'll be better without me, or whatever, and really, at the end of the day, like, I guess the way I feel is, like, I say coins, but it's just, like, I don't know, I feel like life's a game. Like, what if you just, like, hit reset, start again, new person, Mongolia, I don't know, just, like, San Paulo, like, you're just a new person, new location, like, it's like, for me, I think, what if hell was Groundhog Day?
That would be hell.
Like for me, honestly, like, I don't want to have to, like, I eventually to come here again as a child and do the whole thing again from the beginning, all over again.
But will we have knowledge of it though?
No, but I feel like your soul is tired.
Yeah, that doesn't change, I'm sure.
I feel like you're exhausted. Like, you're a father of 4 children.
Yeah.
Have you not seen them come out where you're like, I didn't teach you that. Where'd that come from?
Sure enough. Yeah.
I'm like, we're just
like blow you away, like.
Where'd your soul come from? Like, where'd you even, like, my daughter came out a diva. Like, a diva. I was, like, feeding her, and she's like, don't touch me. Like, she's just like, she's already a full person, and it's like, I know, having 4, like, I know you've seen it, where you're just like, this is,
I get that, yeah.
The idea of doing that again for me is just, oof, it makes me tired. I feel sleepy already at the thought of that. But I say it to say, like, I don't know, can you, advice or anything, can you say anything to it?
Referring to, like, how traumatized people who withhold this stuff and feel like, going back to that's where the question was originating.
Yeah, like, if you come across somebody, like, do you, like, you say anything to anybody? Like, do you have any sort of, like, even personal or, like, professional or, like, any life advice where, like, hey, I've lived X amount of years, like, this is like how I feel, or, like, what I think, or, like, where are you at,
And that's when coming to deal with people who are in this position, where they don't know whether or not they want to continue living, they think they might want to take their lives, kind of type situation. Well, I mean, I do experience that on a pretty frequent basis. Mental health is 90% of what we do. And I was just having a conversation with one of the guys who got kicked out of the shelter just a couple days ago. And it's, in my experience, it helps to, and there's no quantifiable data on this, but this is my own experience. It helps to empathize with these people and just sit with them and let them talk if they want to. And if not, just sit with them and just, I don't know. What I tend to do is again, you empathize, like, yeah, this really sucks. Like, you're going through this, and this. If they've been vulnerable with you and you've been able to learn some things about what they're going through, you connect with them on that level, and maybe even just remind them that life's kind of like a pendulum. Like, you may be over here right now, but it's gonna swing back. It is gonna get better, and I know you can't see that right now. There's a giant wall, and there's no way to climb that wall for you right now, but you will get to the other side, kind of type thing. At the end of the day, no one's going to make a change in their life that they don't want to make for themselves, but we can try to kind of nudge people.
Yeah.
Give them the positive encouragement.
Can I ask you, how old are you?
33. Thank you.
Like I was really surprised today. I keep mentioning this conversation I had, and just because something you said just reminded me of it again, and I just feel like this, like the universe mirroring, and I'll tell you why. I spoke to a 65-year-old woman, business owner, and she said to me, you know, she just had to realize, it reminds me of the pendulum thing, she said she just had to realize that she was going to go through these really dark moments, and that these really hard moments were going to happen, and that she didn't do anything about them. And I'm at this point, Andrew, where I'm 37, and I kind of realized the same for myself. I've just been, especially through the process of like podcasting and talking to people, and I'm like, I realized that at the root of it, like as humans, we all say the same thing, which is that like there's a deep amount of like anxiety and worrying about other people's thoughts. There's a deep amount of like feeling like deep like despair, and where it's like you recognize that like, okay, this is hard right now, but you either have the idea like you said, where it's like, all right, this is deep, I know it'll swing back, or some people have this idea where it's like, this is deep, and I'm just like, this is how it always is for me. And I realized that the only difference between the two is like, it's like that glass is like, nothing's either good or bad, things that makes it so glass half full, glass half empty sort of mentality, where I don't know, for me it just makes me feel better when I hear people like when you say it and you're like, you know, we swing back and forth, or like what she said is she's like, I just realized I'm gonna have to go through it, and I'm like, well, she's 65 and she said that, so you might as well realize I said to myself, like, you might as well realize you're not different, and like you're gonna just have to suck it up and drink water and drive on too, so that's what we're gonna do, and we're just out here trying to make it. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Just want to say that.
Yeah. With that, and it's this is kind of common knowledge, but like without the pendulum, there would be no highs. Without that deep low, like that darkness where you're ready to end your life, coming out the other side of that, life is so beautiful, you know. And I want to take everybody from that dark place and show them the light. I wish I could just pull them all out.
Yeah, but you know what? That's valid. It's true. I didn't think about it that way, but that's like, I've heard it before, and so when you say it, I go, yeah, that one again, and that's true, because it's true. I mean, you wouldn't know what it's like to be, you know, I wouldn't know what it's like to be comfortable if I wasn't uncomfortable. I've been in this room before where here goes air. The air kicks on, and for me, I get cold quick. I'm sitting like right underneath it. Boom! It's literally blowing right on me, right? You know, and I'm like, you know, I can recognize that I can be uncomfortable. You know, like I've been uncomfortable, and I also know what it's like when it feels like when it's off. But like you said, like I wouldn't have the value for it. I wouldn't have the appreciation for it. I don't have the appreciation for freedom in the sense.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm affecting me to my straight. So let that go. I'm letting it go.
I've been arrested.
Huh?
I've been arrested before. I know it's like,
it's horrible.
It sucks.
It's desperate.
I was 18.
I felt so proud of myself for so long. How long did I get? I got like 37 years.
Oh wow.
I did good.
Very recent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I had no knowledge of this.
Yes.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. It was in January.
Okay.
In January. It was funny because it was like I started January and I started doing Psalms 91 every day.
Okay.
So when I was a child, I memorized that, and so I started saying that out loud every day. And then I knew that all of the fabric of my life would change, and then it did, and then that happened, and then I started. I knew at the time, sort of like the nail on the tire. I just knew at the time that like it wasn't bad, that it would still be good, and I just couldn't see it. I tend to talk a lot about like Joseph in jail, and I don't know, do you know that like Bible story? But there's this Bible story about this guy, the Joseph, the coat of many colors or whatever. He ends up basically getting sold into slavery, and then when he's a slave, he gets accused of raping this girl that he doesn't rape, but like he ends up in jail for raping her, even though he didn't do it, and this whole thing. And so like, you know, like homeboy's in jail for like a really long time, but or it seems at least he's in there for a while. We don't know how long exactly in the Bible, but he's in there long enough to like help these people who are working in the king's palace, and basically the situation, the circumstance ends up where he helps him so much that he becomes second in command to the king.
Yeah, the advisor. Yeah,
You know, the advisor to the king.
Yeah.
You know, and so I spare you all the biblical details, but at the end of the day, had Joseph not been in jail and had all that, like, quote unquote bad stuff, the slavery and, you know, going from the pot to the fire, so to speak, had that never happened, he would have never been, you know, second to the king, the advisor of the king.
It's part of the journey.
So I think that always about everything, and I've been, you know, kind of just doing it, living it, and seeing it, honestly, and being like, wow, yeah, like even today, it changed me. Honestly, this conversation has changed me, and I've been blessed by hearing your heart. So I feel like that's all that matters, is just the heart of the humans.
I love that. And I relate with that completely, too. I'm going through it myself. We all are, you know. But, and in the face of all of it, I mean, I'll sit and talk to my therapist, and she'll be like, you have like 4 of the 5 most stressful things identified in the, what is it, the...
Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yeah, whatever, yeah.
Oh, No. The
diagnosis handbook, I can never remember.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
But there's some acronym.
The FAM thing, or no, I'm thinking of immigration. That's horrible.
MSD or something like that. But anyways.
DSM. There it is.
Am I dyslexic?
DSM-2? Something like that. There's a number that comes with it, right? DS4? I think it's DSM-4. Is it? I know what you're talking about.
Yes,
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, she's just like, how are you handling this all right now? And it's like, it is difficult because I lost a child to stillbirth. We had twins back in December. Everything was fine 2 days before delivery, and then water broke and baby was gone when delivered. Of course, I still have the surviving twin, which is a blessing. Then, back that up, September of last year, my soon-to-be ex-wife, the divorce isn't final yet, got arrested for domestic violence against me. And I moved out, and it was the whole thing. I moved back in when the babies were born just to take care of the kids. Of course, we lose the child, and then I moved out ahead of more violence that I felt was coming. Moved in with my mom. I lived with her for 2 months before she passed.
Oh, God.
April 18th of really an infection, basically.
24.
This year.
Yeah.
Just a couple months ago.
Whoa. I'm sorry to hear about all these losses.
But at the same time, the way that God works, like I moved in with her 2 months before she passed. I didn't have a relationship with her for 8 years because of my ex.
Wow.
And so everything happens for a reason.
You got to really spend that time.
Mm-hmm.
You get to really spend that time.
Yeah, I did.
You get to really. That's lovely. That you got to like.
I had to
really
reconnect.
Yeah.
And from the moment I got back, I was back in her life. It was like we never skipped a beat. You know, that was she truly loved me like a mom is supposed to love her child, and I'm so grateful for that. And there's so much beauty in all of that, in the loss, in the experience. Like, one would look at it face value and think like, how do you not have a gun in your mouth right now? And I can understand that, but at the same time, there's so much beauty and so much positivity in light of everything that's going on. Like, I'm getting a divorce. I have 4 kids. I'm going to be, it's going to suck, but I also have my peace of mind. I also am not in a toxic, abusive relationship anymore. I have the freedom, and it gave me the space to love myself again.
And you're a spiritual person, so I can't let you say it's going to suck.
Okay.
Because you're manifesting.
There are things that will be uncomfortable. There are things that, no, I can't even say that.
I mean, if you want that.
I don't want that.
So it's going to be super easy and light.
Okay.
And
the energy that we put out is what we get back.
Because you're not putting that out there.
You're right.
Because you're not putting that out there, so you don't need to receive that.
I love that.
You don't need to speak that over yourself.
You're correct.
Because that's not even for you, Andrew. That's not yours.
Thank you.
I do know, and I'm just going to say it, like, I don't know why I know this, but I know spiritually it was important for you to know that your mom loved you the way that she did.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I know that because I recognized, when you told me your story just now, I kind of was reliving my Rice Street situation.
Okay.
And I was, like, thinking about how, the good things, and one of them was that I knew my mom loved me because of that. And I thought it was interesting that you're the one who reminds me of it. But It was something that I always said that I knew she wouldn't do, was to like help me or like bail me out or whatever. And she really helped me a lot. And for weeks after that, I felt really strongly. And it was a big deal for me because like I talk about it like, you know, like with the abuse and her position there and how it wasn't like super supportive or whatever. And I talk about how like we're better now, but like there was a really like our relationship was really bad. Like, like it was the reason I joined the military. She told me unequivocally that I was not allowed to live in my house after 18, and I needed to come up with a plan on where I was going.
Wow.
Like, that's why I joined the Army at 17.
I can imagine the relationship was strained.
It was like a very strained relationship. But I did. I realized through that. I was like, oh no, she really does love me. And I realized in the moment, I was like, that was really significant for me. And I don't know why spiritually I felt at the same time to say to you, like, I just know it. I just know that I know. I don't know why, but I just know that it was really significant and it was important, like, for your soul to know the way that you know that she loved you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how things would have played out, how I would have felt, rather, had I not ended up back there and had that opportunity to live with her and experience her and rekindle that relationship and learn that, you know, because I didn't have that knowledge really, not practically, before I moved back. So I'm grateful for that, immensely grateful for that.
Yeah, that's lovely. And also sometimes, I don't know why, but I don't know, like maybe like we can never, there's certain things that like people talk about, like, oh, well, if God is all powerful, then God should do this or could do that or the next thing, right, and all these kind of things. But like I have this idea that like, what if, just for argument's sake, like what if it was predetermined, it was always going to happen, where your mom passes away that day on the 18th of April, but the situations and circumstances all around it were different, like where you didn't have that opportunity to be with her, or like you could have been somewhere else, so like, you know, like all those different things. And it's like I feel like the universe always conspires like in our favor to make sure that we're like right in the right place, right at the right time. Like, do you know what I mean?
I do. I absolutely do. Ever since I left my ex, it's just moments like that, back to back to back, that it's like confirmation that I'm on the right path. And I feel like when you are on that path, when you're on the path that you're intended to be on, and making the choices that you're supposed to be making, I guess, I don't know, that kind of feels weird to say, but it just, things just click and doors open and things align and you meet people who are in alignment with you, and it's just like, it's a flow state, you know, it feels like you're there.
Yes, even in those moments where it seems bad.
Exactly.
And I think that's also, I suppose, for me, if I can, I usually don't. I did two things today. I'm doing two things today I usually don't do. But I have a point that I want to make.
Okay.
Instead of people, I usually don't talk to the people, but I want to talk to the people and say, the point is that you don't, like, everything doesn't always make sense, but it does get better.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it does.
And empathy matters. You know.
It very much does.
Gosh, this is wild. I will say everything is divinely aligned. It's like you said, Andrew. Like, even the day I met you, I usually don't exercise in my gym here. And I was exercising in the gym, and that's when I saw y'all. And I was just being cheeky that day because I wanted to know that my sticker didn't work and had my branding stuff.
Of course, now every time I go in the precinct and I see the bread and I'm like,
oh, there. Exactly. So now it works. Obviously, we need to know that's not okay. We're gonna.
Because I took bread with me before you asked me.
You had taken bread?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh wow!
I told you I love the loaves.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, the loaves are popular.
Yeah,
they're delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I had been giving out that bread for so long before I tasted one of those loaves.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tasted the loaf, and now I always have two in my freezer.
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be two in my freezer.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm like, this is delicious. Wow. Okay. I mean, I won't keep you. I'm going to be respectful of your time because I know you're your father. I will say, like, I always like to say, do you have any questions for me or anything that you want to say? Just in general, because like sometimes, you know, we have conversations and maybe I'm leading it a little bit, or like I have something I want to say or whatever, but like I always want to kind of leave it open. Like I want to leave a space for like, maybe you want to say something, maybe you have like something on your heart, or maybe you have a question, I don't know, but I'm just going to leave it, I just want to throw it out there.
What do you think is the best way to maintain this culture in Atlanta, or not even to maintain the culture in Atlanta, but back to the whole compassion, kindness, and this way of living and treating other people. What do you think is the best way to spread that? Wow. Or even to grow that?
That's like my life's question, I will be honest with you.
Okay.
I think, I'll say a few things. I'll say, number one, I love your question, never thought about it. I think that without a vision that people perish, and that like words are powerful. So I feel that making it a talked about thing and a culture here where we talk about it and we know like this is what we do here, like that's just how we do. Like when you finish going to the bathroom, you wash your hands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. In my house, after COVID, definitely, yeah. when you come into the house, you wash your hands. Now I feel weird if I come into a house or someone's house and I don't wash my hands immediately, vigorously. You know, it's just like part of the thing. I do it. You know, and so it's like if we just had this culture where it's like kindness isn't niceness, and I think that's important for people to know.
Yes. That
being nice is not kind, and you don't need to be nice. And if you're not in a good mood, the kindest thing sometimes you can do is shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you could just be quiet, and that's the kindest thing that you can do for everybody. And recognizing that like it's important to treat people, like how you treat people matters, and that how you want to be treated matters, and that if you come across somebody, there's this lady that works at Jeju. Her name is Michaela. She was talking about this, all encouraging talks. And I told her she's one of the reasons I started my podcast, because we had a conversation one day. She's like, you should be a podcaster. And I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about it for a while. I'll just do it. But she said this thing, and it really stood out to me. And she was like, I always know that when people come up to me and they're nasty to me, that the problem is them and it's not me. That whatever they call me, that name is them and not me. So they're coming up to me and they're like, yeah, you're mean and you're nasty. It's like, or you smell bad or whatever, like that. The issue has to do with them.
Yeah.
And I think that saying that out loud, talking about that, making that message something that's known in the city. Because I don't think that like, I'm not one of these people who's like, I can change the world. I mean, I'd love to change the world, but like, I think definitely we could bring that culture to Atlanta and keep it here. Like it's already here, so just talk about it. Just say, hey, yeah, that's how we do it here. Y'all want to come? You want to come here? Everybody want to come here? Come here. But understand, when you come here, you're gonna keep it kind here. Don't open your mouth and start being wild. Here. Just be lovely, or go home. Mm-hmm. That's it. And so that's how I feel about it. I don't know how to. I just want maybe billboards and signs. I don't know.
That would get eyes on it. As you're saying these things, I'm realizing these are things that I do, not a daily basis, but when I deal with conflict in the streets, and someone's just really going at it, like going off, and I'm dealing with two people, I might be able to pull one aside and explain that to them. Like, look, all this is not about you. Like, they're having a really hard time. There's something going on in their life, and this is that manifest exterior, and it's being dumped on you. And then, so there's definitely been many interactions I've had where I've been able to highlight that. And I think I will be more intentional moving forward about, just explaining that to people. Not the whole, all this is all the trauma built up that's now being poured out on you, but also that it doesn't cost anything to be kind. That you may be feeling some kind of way, but, you don't have to do anything mean, or you don't have to be vocally angry with this person.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
That's what you said to me. It reminds me when you said it again.
That's like a mantra of mine.
Yeah, you said it. That's what you said.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's what you said. You said it again. I love it. Yeah, that's what you said. It made me smile the first time I met you, and so I was like, yeah, I see you, Andrew. Yes, I love that shit. Exactly. It's nothing. It's free. Mm-hmm. It really is. And then like sometimes people say to me, especially I say change my name, and so sometimes people are like, oh, your mom, like they start talking to my parents or whatever, and I say, oh no, I changed my name. Oh, well, you have to be nice to everybody now, or like whatever. And I'm like, sometimes you just have to kill them with kindness. That's how I feel. And it's like, the Bible talks about, there's this proverb, is like basically like be kind to your enemy, and it only just pissing them off more. You just be lovely.
That's true.
Literally just do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's it. That's man, that's all I gotta say about it.
I so enjoyed this. This has been great.
I really appreciate you coming and talking to me and sharing your story. and listening to mine and being vulnerable and just honest and, you know, what you do. What you do. Good job you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I get the spirit of it.
And thank you guys for listening, you know. I really appreciate you for making it to the end of this episode, for listening to what we had to say. I'm going to really appreciate your donations and your support. You can visit kindnesscallaway.com and shop our store, the Loving Kindness Everyday Community Store. But today I'm going to be forward and I'm going to ask you to send some donations my way. Visit our website and find out how you can get involved. Donate to the show. Help us help you. So we need your help too. We all do. Thank you.
I'll explain it to you. I'll give you this one story. Like I walked into Tai Chi Boba Tea in Brookhaven, and I'll never forget. I walked in there, and this guy goes to me, "Hey," but he said it like he waved at me and said hello to me as if I was his friend in the group meeting them. Wow. Like that's how I felt. Like I was like, that's how he said hi to me, and I was just like, wow. At the time, I had like a little like bracelet and my stickers with me, and I said, I was like, man, you gotta let me give you this because like this is like you're the reason, like your attitude and like your just your welcomingness, like it didn't take nothing for you just to be like, hey, you know, or whatever, but it just filled my heart with joy, and so I gave it to him, and then I gave he was with another lady, they were having lunch or something, and so I gave her a bracelet too, and I just went about my day. And then later on I met this houseless lady living on the street, and she told me that she was a retired police officer. She had been a police officer for 20 years and then went and created another business, and then the person that she was with basically like did her over, and now she's like now out on the street. And I was just like, wow. That's wild. And we had this whole conversation. I actually recorded it for some reason. I usually don't do that, but I recorded it. And while I was recording, video recording it, the lady who was sitting next to the man who I gave the bracelet to comes up to the homeless lady and gives her money or like food or something. And I was like, wow. I was like, oh, I just saw you. Like she didn't like recognize. I was like that's like literally lovely. Like this is what I mean. I'm like, this is a triangle of love. Like, you know, you just give and it's given right back to you and all this kind of thing. And I'm like, that's what I'd like to inspire, where it's like if we could have a culture here where it's like, listen, you don't have to give anybody money. You know, you don't have to give anybody money. You just say hi. Yeah. Or hold the door if you feel like it.
Exactly.
You know, or just, you know, if you feel like it. And if you don't, definitely don't do it.
No.
Because then you're just being nice, and then nobody wants that.
Exactly.
It's weird. Just keep your niceness inside. Not that. But anyway.
I love that. No,
that's how I feel with that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. All right, well.
Maybe you want to have a bumper sticker on my car.
I will give you a sticker.
You got a Keep Atlanta Kind sticker?
I have loads of Keep Atlanta Kind stickers. I'll give you a Keep Atlanta Kind, but I'll give you a better sticker for your car. But, do I have any stickers?
All right, y'all. That's it for now. You are valued, you are loved, you are changed, you are needed. You are here for a reason, you are listening to this word. You're here. Don't give up. Never give up.
You are valued, you are loved, you are changed, you are needed. You are here for me and you are listening to this word. Don't give up. Never give up.
You are valued.